Hello, it's Maya and welcome to my channel where I drink tea and talk about stuff. Or, you know, in this case, hot chocolate, because why not? I'm not good with people. I never have been. I didn't have many friends growing up. I don't like crowds. I'm not too big on parties. More than 10 to 15 people and I go home. That is too many people for me. I have easier to communicate with animals than humans. School take a lot of energy. Whenever I come home from school, I have to lie down in bed for about half an hour before I can do anything or talk to anyone. I have Asperger's syndrome and ADHD. I haven't seen too many people with Asperger's or anything else under the autism spectrum in media. Not on YouTube or, you know, in media overall. The only people I have seen that are, you know, a bit stereotypes of Asperger's are Sherlock from the TV series Sherlock and Sheldon Cooper from The Big Bang Theory. And even though, you know, they are awesome people and they are, you know, Sherlock is the hero in his TV show and Sheldon is Sheldon, I think it's important to show that all people with Asperger's or autism or ADHD aren't like them. I think quite a lot of people, when they picture autism or Asperger's or something like that in their head, they see that weird kid in the corner who plays with trains and who is obsessed with time and numbers and who wants everything to be, you know, in nice rows, and that is not who most people are. That is not how I am, and I think it's important to show people that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the kid in the corner who likes trains. There's nothing wrong with liking trains or really like being on time, because God knows I need to get better at, you know, keeping time. But for that to be the description of everything with a neuropsychological disorder, that is wrong. I got my diagnosis quite late. It was fall 2013. I guess that marks the 2-year anniversary of me knowing what kind of personality I have. Because I call it a personality and not a disorder because, you know, sometimes it can be really hard and sometimes Asperger make stuff easier. It depends on how you see it. I prefer to call it a personality rather than a disorder or a handicap, even though that is technically what it is. I'd like to make more people aware of the fact that people have neuropsychological disorders, and I think it's important that people understand that just because someone has autism or Asperger's or ADHD, that doesn't make people, you know, different. It makes them their own. If you understand what I'm saying, I don't think you do. I'm not talking for everybody with autism or Asperger's or ADHD. If you do not understand what I'm saying when autism is the general name for this kind of neuropsychological disorder. If I try to explain what I'm saying when I'm saying autism in general, it is that if you think autism as an umbrella, under that umbrella, the umbrella is autism, and under that umbrella you have Asperger's and you have ADHD and you have ADD and you have, you know, lots of different things. And that is, when I say autism in general, that is what I'm talking about. In the beginning, I refused to tell anyone. I was ashamed of the fact that I had a disorder. I had this weird thing that made me different from everybody else, and I hated it, and I refused to tell anyone. My parents, my mother and father, eventually convinced me to at first tell my teachers. I mean, something as big as Asperger's and ADHD that is going to affect my education, of course I have to tell the teachers that are responsible for my education. You know, it's important for them to know that. so that they can be better teachers for someone like me. In the end, that did not help, and it ended up with me switching schools and moving here, but at least they tried. After that, it took, I don't remember if it took a couple of weeks or like a couple of months, but after some time I started telling my friends, and then we told my classmates. I remember that day, and I remember how awful I felt. I walked into the room and I remember how awful I felt. We had something, you know, every week we have this where we meet in the class and we discuss things that affect the class. And this time my mother was going to be there and talk about me and tell everybody that I had something that made them different from them. And I was terrified, and I thought that everybody was going to hate me. Normally I sit at the front, I sit right opposite the teacher, you know, like, you know, the teacher's daughter I am. But this time I sat in the corner at the back, in the right corner, and I sat there and I tried to make myself as small as possible, and I just crawled into this ball and made this protective bubble around myself, or at least I tried. And the entire time that my mother was talking, I tried not to cry, because people from my class, they were, you know, looking at me, then looking at my mum, then looking at me, then looking at my mum, and all I could think was, my life is over, because they are going to hate me now. They did not hate me, surprisingly enough. Later that evening I got a Facebook message from a girl who said that I was brave for telling them. I have to be honest, I did cry when I saw that, and I did tell my mum, and I cried a bit more, but I was so happy because this giant stone had lifted from my chest. This video is important to me in many ways. I'm making this for two reasons. One, the reason I mentioned earlier, I haven't seen a lot of people in the media or on YouTube with Asperger's, and I wish that I can be one of the few that shows other Aspies and other people with some kind of neuropsychological disorder that they are not different in a bad way, and in some ways they're not different at all. And I think people with Asperger's and other forms of neuropsychological disorders in general should be more represented in the media. I also want to encourage people who just found out that they have something to tell people around them, because that can help people understand you, and it will make a big difference, because they will be a bit easier on you. They will understand if you need to go away and need some privacy. They will understand if you say something odd, and they aren't gonna hate you. I dare to promise you that nobody is going to hate you just because you have a diagnosis, just because you have a disorder. That's it for me, people. If you liked it, click on the little like button down below, click on the little thumbs up. If you want to see more of me, click the little subscribe button that I think is down there. And please share this, because I want as many people as possible to see this, because this is a subject that is really important to me and it's close to home, and I want more people to accept themselves and to accept their disorders, because I would not want to be without my Asperger's, and I would not want to be without my ADHD. And I hope that people can accept their disorders as well. Bye.